Hello, this is part of my comic book collection. These are the first two short boxes of my Star Trek comics. Begin with Gold Key. Star Trek Gold Key comics. This is, I believe it's number 2. They never put issue numbers on their covers. Someone wrote on the top of some guy, I think it's Bobby, way back in 1969. Some kid wrote on it, but it's okay. Spock with the sword right there. Very cool. One thing a bunch of mummies, I'm very impressed with is the painted covers of these old Gold Key books. I believe this is a reprint of the reprinted issues later on, so this is like a reprint of the very first Star Trek Gold Key issue. There's a psychedelic cover right there. This is a reprint of the Voodoo Planet. One from there, that's another reprint. This is called the Voodoo Planet. This is a sequel to the companion episode from the original series. I've got a good chunk on Guardian of Forever right there. I have a good chunk of the Gold Keys, I'm surprised. Duplicate issue. Kind of surprised I got a good chunk of these Gold Keys because they're pretty expensive, and started getting them over the years when I had enough money saved up. That was the last. Yeah, that was the last Gold Key issue. This is one of the, they call them Dan Curtis giveaways. This is a reprint, a heavily edited reprint of a previous issue. Another reprint, they called them Dynabrite Comics. It reprints 2 earlier stories. Sort of the Whitman imprint. Then we go to Marvel. They start with a 3-issue Star Trek the Motion Picture movie adaptation. Quite frankly, the comic book version of the movie is better than the actual movie itself. It doesn't take 12 hours to sit through the movie. Man, that movie was boring. I got several of these because this is the first one I got many years ago when I was a kid. I read it a whole bunch of times. I got a better copy of it then as a gift. I got a signed copy by John Romita, which I think is kind of weird because John Romita, as far as I can tell, had nothing to do with this comic book. I don't know why he signed it, but he signed a bunch of them. It was like part of his special signed ones you could buy, like I think it's Dynamic Forces or something. I don't know. Can't remember. Issue 2. This one, someone wrote on it. I guess I bought it because it was cheap. Let's see. issue 3. Then with issue 4 we get to some original stories. This one has a nice haunted house cover on it. Dr. McCoy shooting some lady. Excuse me. 6. This is a fun book to collect and read. It didn't last that long. Said Conan the Barbarian, you got Spock the Barbarian. It only lasted for about, this is issue 11. And all these series the series takes place after the motion picture, so that's why everything's in motion picture uniforms. With the Klingon and Dr. McCoy's daughter. It's 13. It's Egypt. This is a fun one. Kirk thinks he's an Egyptian pharaoh for some reason. 14. That was fun. It's a fun series. Said Tribbles, this series had gnomes. And this is the final issue of the Marvel series. Okay, after Marvel came DC. It picks up after Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. That's why, spoiler alert, that's why you don't see Spock on the cover. But I have to give them credit though. The movies 2, 3, and 4, they could be seen, they were designed to be seen back to back, but I have to give DC credit for having the series take place around those movies creatively. Duplicate. Double Kirk. Origin of Savik. Romulans and Savik. This picks up, issue 9 picks up after Star Trek 3. See Spock is back. And it launches into the Mirror Universe saga. It's a motion picture flashback. Supposedly, Walter Koenig wrote the issue. And Sulu issue. And reason why you don't see Enterprise there, because, spoiler alert, they blew it up in Star Trek 3. So Kirk gets temporary command of the Excelsior. So these group of comics, he's in command of the Excelsior. This was the 20th anniversary issue. This storyline leads up to Star Trek 4. And this picks up after Star Trek 4. This is a flashback issue of the original series. Harry Mudd issue. Another Mudd issue. Okay, we're back at we're in the second box now. It's the 50th issue. Let's see, 51. You're dead, Jim. That was actually a good story. This is the final issue of the series, 56. But wait, there's more. Here's the annual number 1 from 1985. Talking about their first mission. Second annual talks about the final mission of the original series. And this was a love story with Scotty. They did a Who's Who in Star Trek. Who's Who number 2. And some movie adaptations, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 4. And that was it for that series, and DC rebooted the series. Started with issue number 1 again, and it takes place after Star Trek 5. We got two copies of that one. This is the Trial of James T. Kirk. And here we're going into the, see down there, is the which was the 25th anniversary of Star Trek at the time. It's actually a pretty cool cover. Another visit from Harry Mudd. This is the 25th anniversary issue. This is where Sulu becomes captain of the Excelsior. As we can see, they're leading up to, even though Star Trek VI had already been released, they're leading the storylines up to what was seen in that movie. I think I need to read these again. I haven't read these in a very long time. That's right, and they also brought back Saavik to replace Sulu. Uh, 50th issue. Bring back Gary Seven from the old Assignment Earth episode. Saavik. This was a good storyline. I remember this one. This is where the crew go back in time and visit Klingon history. It's a fun series, fun storyline. Flashback episode. To the original series. Duplicate of that. Return to Talos. See, that's from the pilot, Captain Pike. Going back to the original series again. '73. This is like a flashback to Kirk's Academy days. As you can tell, this is how the series ended with Kirk's Academy days. Also before the Where No Man Has Gone Before pilot, the second pilot. And go into the original series. And this is the final issue, issue 80. And behind the series, I have the comic series, I have the annuals. Annual number 1, supposedly co-written by George Takei, plays Sulu. Another Starfleet Academy issue. Annual 3. Annual 4. 5. 6. This was a crossover with Next Generation. It was like part 1. And you go with Next Generation. You get the Next Generation annual for part 2. So then it goes to specials. A special number 1, special 2, special 3. This is the Modala Imperative miniseries. This was for the 25th anniversary. There's also, I'll show you later in a moment, the Next Generation. They did their own miniseries called the Modala Imperative. It links into this one. So it was another Next Gen original series crossover for the 25th anniversary. This is when Next Generation was still on the air. Star Trek V movie adaptation. Star Trek VI movie adaptation. And this is a freebie that DC used to give out called Direct Currents. I kept this one because they talked about their 25th anniversary plans for the Star Trek comics. This is boxes 3 and 4 in my Star Trek collection. Start off with Next Generation is the very first Next Generation comic. It started off as a mini-series. 6-issue mini-series. You can tell with Tasha Yar there that was... all this is from the first season of Next Generation. This is the first issue of the regular series. Underwater is a cool underwater storyline from Next Generation. Something they couldn't do in the show. This is a fun one. This is where Q turns the crew into Klingons. I think that lasted a couple issues. Like 2 issues maybe. Maybe 3, I can't. Yeah, 3. Borg issue. Another Borg issue. I think this was like a multi-part issue. Another Q issue. Sequel to the original series episode Tholian Web. Another Borg issue. And this is towards the end. This is issue 79. They just recycled the Klingon plot again. So Q, instead of turning them into Klingons, he turns them into androids like Data. So it's kind of like the same thing. So this is the final issue, number 80. And I got the annuals. First annual, supposedly co-written by John Delancey, plays Q. Annual 2, 3. Then we got the specials. This is still an annual, sorry. If you remember previously, this is the second issue of the Convergence storyline, where it's a original series Next Generation crossover. Special number 1. Number 2. This is the Madala Imperative crossover, 25th anniversary of Star Trek, where old Spock and old McCoy join Next Generation. Box 4. This is the Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine Next Generation crossover series. Not much a fan of the other spin-offs. Because Malibu at the time had Deep Space Nine comic book rights. DC still had Next Generation, so it was co-produced by both companies. Ill Wind, there's a miniseries, Next Generation miniseries by DC. Another one, Shadowheart. is an adaptation of the final episode of Next Generation. Focus. Alright, Generations, Star Trek Generations, a movie adaptation. That's it for DC. We go back to Marvel. Star Trek Unlimited, it was a quarterly comic which had, each one had an original series story and a Next Generation story. Our Borg story. This was part of the Telepathy War story arc. I don't think there's an original series story in here. It was like during the 90s where they did these big, massive crossovers. Especially Marvel did, so I have the other Telepathy War crossovers elsewhere in this box. So I think that was a crossover between the original series and Next Generation. It's a weird one. Mini-series from Marvel, Untold Voyages, takes place just like their first Star Trek series, takes place right after the motion picture. So five issue series for each issue for each year. Final issue. And this is a fun book, Early Voyages. It takes place during the original pilot era of the Captain Pike era. He used the likeness of Jeffrey Hunter and Leonard Nimoy from the pilot. It's a fun series to read if you haven't had a chance to read it. I don't think there's much demand for these books, so they're pretty easy to find, I think. I hope. And this is the Cage from a different point of view. It's an adaptation of The Cage, the episode, from a different point of view. Even Captain Kirk has to make an appearance in here. Pike punching out Kirk. And the series only lasted about 17 issues. And special, this is their special last issue, 17. Unfortunately, the series ends on a cliffhanger. They were canceled without warning. So the series ends on a cliffhanger. Unfortunately. But it's still a good series to collect and read. And this is an oddball. One is called, it was a normal series, it's a regular series called Starfleet Academy. I think he's from Deep Space Nine, the show. He didn't last long, but all these other characters are totally new, original. Duplicate that one. This was mid to late 90s, where they were going crossover crazy. They were doing, they were going crazy with the tie-in books, spin-off. They were going spin-off. It was during the mid to late 90s. They were going spin-off crazy. There were spin-offs on TV. Basically, you can do whatever you want. Just make a generic series and just slap Star Trek on the title. They were doing that with the Star Wars books as well. This was a sequel to the original series, Charlie X. Two of those. This is where they go to Talos 4. You meet Captain Pike. I think that's I got Spock, special guest star. This is another one of those Telepathy War tie-in books. Parents' Day at the Academy. This is fun. This is a English language edition. They did 2 of these as a gimmick. All the dialogue in this story is in English. Same issue, but it is in Klingon. And final issue, they were canceled without warning too, but I think they knew because they did an epilogue at the end of the book saying what happened. So they had more of a chance than early Voyages did to tie things up. Telepathy War, another Telepathy War tie-in book. This is a special. It's supposed to be a mega crossover. Next Generation meets Deep Space Nine, meets Starfleet Academy, plus you got Spock. Not a Deep Space Nine fan, but I got it because it's a Telepathy War tie-in and has a Starfleet Academy tie-in. Or Telepathy War tie-in book has Worf in it. For some reason Voyager was tied into Telepathy War. Don't know why. Got this book because of 2 reasons. It has Worf on it and they have triples. So. Weird crossover book. Star Trek meets the X-Men. And a sequel. Star Trek Next Generation meets the X-Men. This is a tie-in to Mirror from the original series that Marvel did. This is a Borg issue with Romulans. The Riker special. I guess he needed his own special, I guess. I don't know why. First Contact movie adaptation. This was a Marvel magazine called Vision, Marvel Vision. It tells you about what they're going to do with Star Trek. This is when they first got the license back from DC. Talking about the X-Men crossover. Worf special. Got these because they were pretty cheap. They're called Ash Cans. And last but not least, these are the Power record sets. It's a comic book with a record you can listen along with. I still have the records. So, and that's my Star Trek collection. Hope you enjoyed looking at it. I enjoyed collecting it. Bye.